So, guys, this is a clip that's been making its way around the internet. But Elon Musk did an interview with BBC reporter James Clayton. And this is a little back and forth that they have about hate speech, misinformation, so on and so forth, that I want to play for you. And then I'm going to give you my comments.
Free speech is meaningless unless you allow people you don't like to say things you don't like. Otherwise, it's irrelevant. And if at the point at which you lose free speech, it doesn't come back.
I think the issue some people have is that a lot of people were brought back. I mean, some people were brought back who were previously banned for spreading things like QAnon conspiracies. You have people like Andrew Tate who were brought back, who were previously banned for things like hate speech. Do you think you prioritize freedom of speech over misinformation and hate speech?
Well, you know, who's to say that something is misinformation? Who's the arbiter of that?
And he's right. Who is the arbiter of what is misinformation, what is hate speech, so on and so forth? The media and some social media like to say that the fact checkers are the arbiters of what is hate speech, what is misinformation. One problem with that is those fact checkers are usually along the same lines politically and have some of the same beliefs socially. And they're the gatekeepers. They're the ones that make the decision. They're the ones that determine what's hate speech and what's misinformation.
Is it the BBC?
You're literally asking me.
That's BBC.
Yes.
Well, no, you are the arbiter on Twitter because you own Twitter.
Yes, I'm saying who is to say that one person's misinformation is another person's information? At the point at which you say that there is this is misinformation, like who is going to decide that?
You accept that misinformation can be dangerous, that it can cause real-world harms, that it can potentially cause.
Yeah. So the point I'm trying to make is that the BBC itself has at times published things that are false. Do you agree that that has occurred?
I'm quite sure the BBC have said things before that turn out to not be true.
Correct.
In its, whatever it is, 100-year history, I'm quite sure.
Yes. Even if you aspire to be accurate, there are times when you will not be.
We've spoken to people very recently who were involved in moderation, and they just say there's not enough people to police this stuff, particularly around hate speech in the company. Is that
What hate
that
speech are you talking about? I mean, you use Twitter.
Right.
Do you see a rise in hate speech?
I mean,
But just a personal anecdote, like what do you? I don't.
Personally,
And those on the left have been barking, yelling, and screaming since Elon Musk took over Twitter that hate speech is on the rise on Twitter. There's more hate speech than ever. I'm leaving the platform because there's more hate speech. The only hate speech that I see comes from those that are the ones that are barking about hate speech. So think about that.
For you, I would see I get more of that kind of content, yeah, personally. But I'm not going to talk to the rest of for the rest of Twitter.
So you see more hate speech personally?
I would say I would see more hateful content in that.
Content you don't like or hateful? What do you mean to describe a hateful thing?
Yeah, I mean, you know, just content that will solicit a reaction, something that may include something that is slightly racist or slightly sexist, those kinds of things.
So you think if something is slightly sexist, it should be banned?
No,
is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying anything. I'm saying.
Well, I'm just curious. I'm trying.
And there it is. Slightly racist, slightly sexist. Elon point blank asks him, so if it's slightly sexist, it should be banned. And we cannot get a straight answer.
understand what you mean by hateful content. And I'm asking for specific examples. And you just said that if something is slightly sexist, that's hateful content. Does that mean that it should be banned?
Well, you've asked me whether my feed, whether it's got less or more. I'd say it's got slightly more.
That's why I'm asking for examples. Can you name one example?
I honestly don't use. Honestly, I
you
don't.
Can't name a single example.
I'll tell you why. Because I don't actually use that for you feed anymore. Because I just don't particularly like it.
But you
and
said
actually, a lot of people are quite similar. I only look at
hang on a
my
second.
following.
You said you've seen more hateful content, but you can't name a single example, not even one.
I'm not sure I've used that feed for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And
well, then how did you see the hateful content?
Because I've been using Twitter since you've taken it over for the last 6 months.
Okay, so then you must have at some point seen for you hateful content. I'm asking for one example.
Right.
And you can't give a single one.
And I'm saying
then I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Yes, because you can't give me a single example.
See, what is lost in all this, and what is lost today, is the fact that in this country we have a First Amendment right to freedom of speech. Now, some people will say, well, you can't scream fire in a theater. Well, you can, but then you have to deal with the repercussions of it, especially if it's false. And social media platforms say, we're going to deem this speech hateful, so we're going to remove it. We're going to censor you. We're going to delete your account. Well, then that means that you are now a publisher, not a platform. Now, some of you may disagree with that. And if you do disagree with it, or if you agree with me, comment down below. I'd love to hear the comments. I'd love to have the debate on this specific topic. As a Twitter user myself, and I have used it a whole hell of a lot more since Elon has taken over, I haven't really seen anything racist or hate speech or sexist or whatever in my feed. Maybe it's the people I'm following.
Example of hateful content, not even one tweet, and yet you claimed that the hateful content was high.
Well,
that's false.
No, what I claimed...
You just lied.
What I claimed was there are many organizations that say that that kind of information is on the rise. Now, whether it has on my feed or not... I mean, right, and
literally
you can look at something
one.
like the Strategic Dialogue Institute in the UK. They will say that. So
look, people will say all sorts of nonsense. I'm literally asking for a single example, and you can't name one.
Right, and as I already said, I don't use that feed. But
then how would you know that?
I don't think this is getting anywhere.
You literally said you experienced more hateful content, and then couldn't name a single example.
Right, and as I said,
that's absurd.
I haven't actually looked at that feed.
Then how would you know there's hateful content?
Because I'm saying that's what I saw a few weeks ago. I can't give you an exact example. Let's move on. We only have a certain amount of time. COVID misinformation. You changed the COVID misinformation.
Has
rules.
BBC changed its COVID misinformation?
The BBC does not set the rules on Twitter, so I'm asking you.
No, I'm talking about the BBC's misinformation about COVID.
I'm literally asking you about, you changed the labels, the COVID misinformation labels. There used to be a policy, it then disappeared. Why do that?
Well, COVID is no longer an issue.
That's an answer that those in the mainstream media sure aren't going to like. In fact, our YouTube overloads probably aren't going to like that either. I love how Elon turns the tables on this reporter from the BBC. I wish more people would stand up and do this when they're interviewed by mainstream media sources and outlets. Because it'll show the hypocrisy that we've been living with and what we've been dealing with for the last, oh man, at least 20 years, if not 25, nearly 30 years when it comes to the mainstream media.
Does the BBC hold itself at all responsible for misinformation regarding masking and side effects of vaccinations, and not reporting on that at all? And what about the fact that the BBC was put under pressure by the British government to change its editorial policy? Are you aware of that?
This is not an interview about the BBC.
Oh, so... you thought it wasn't?
I see now why you've done Twitter Spaces. I am not a representative of the BBC's editorial policy. I want to make that clear. Let's talk about something else. If you want to talk about the BBC, you too. All right, let's talk about something else.
You weren't expecting that.
So there you have it. Elon Musk just utterly destroying James Clayton when it comes to hate speech, misinformation, even things about the coof. I'm gonna like this video. So again, I'd like to hear your thoughts, your opinions. Do you agree with Elon? Do you disagree with Elon? Please like this video. It helps my channel out with the YouTube algorithm. Helps promote my fledgling enterprise here. Subscribe, share, comment down below. Hit the notification bell and get notified when I upload content on a daily basis during the week. And I thank you for tuning in. I thank you for watching. And we will see you on the next video.